wee bit of a story that dropped the other day, which is Clarence Thomas has been illegally accepting luxury gifts and private jet travel for decades. So this was what's being called a bombshell ProPublica report. And so the specifics are there's this particular billionaire who literally sounds like a Bond villain.
Yeah.
His name is Harlan Crow.
See, I thought more of a Batman villain.
Yeah, that
when I
works.
heard it.
Yeah, he's just a villain.
A villain.
He's just a villain. So his name is Harlan Crow, and he has a super yacht that he lets Clarence Thomas use. He has a private jet that he lets Clarence Thomas use. He has a ranch that he lets him use. He has a billionaire private resort that he lets him use. And so the speculation is that, well, actually this part is not speculation. He doesn't put this stuff on his financial disclosures, which they say, this is according to ProPublica and reported in media here. It appears to, quote, violate a law requiring justices, judges, members of Congress, and federal officials to disclose most gifts.
Mm.
And so they just sort of go into detail about sort of how unprecedented this is. Now, I'll go out on a limb here and say, I don't think it's that unprecedented. It might be the first that we heard of it.
Yeah.
But I bet, you think Antonin Scalia wasn't doing similar things to this? I bet he was, right? Maybe there just wasn't the investigative reporting that was happening to really dive into what he was doing. But I mean, when he died, when he was on some luxury hunting trip or something like that, right? But look, this is a big deal. And this is one of those things where you talk about, people not having trust in our institutions. And it's like, well, why should they? When they see stuff like this? Because now, just to explain this to everybody, anytime you have a case that is tangentially related to some interest this billionaire has come in front of Clarence Thomas,
right,
we all know exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah.
It's not a question. And do you think he's actually going by the law and going by a reasonable interpretation of the Constitution? Or does he view his job as, look, I'm the representative of the billionaire class as a judge, as a Supreme Court justice?
Well, he has both now a financial and an ideological interest in serving the billionaire class, as he always has consistently done throughout his term on the court. Just to give you some of the additional details to show you how just brazen and extensive this is from this GOP donor, billionaire, businessman. Apparently, Thomas and his wife vacation at Crow's private resort in the Adirondacks about a week every single summer. So this isn't like a one-off little thing. One of their trips alone, a 9-day trip to Indonesia that, again, Thomas and his wife, Ginny Thomas, took, that one trip alone would have cost the couple more than $500,000.
Oh, how do you even have a trip that expensive?
I don't know. Included, it says, flights on Crow's jet, island hopping on a super yacht. And so if they had paid for it themselves, more than $500,000, just that one trip alone. And we're talking about this is every summer and more, just down to the goodness of this billionaire's heart, of course. So there's a lot to say about this. Number one, the lack of disclosure may be a legitimate legal issue. That's number one.
I hope so, but there's also no ethics code, right?
That's the second piece, is that every other court in the nation has some sort of code of ethics, except the Supreme Court, where they have abided by this sort of their own internal goodwill and code of conduct. Clearly, the Thomases, this is far from the first time that they've been accused of abusing that trust and exploiting the fact that there is no actual code of conduct. I mean, Ginny Thomas is, out there, firebrand activist implicated in Stop the Steal machinations, taking significant income from these right-wing groups, some of which have had business before the court or have, filed briefs in support of certain cases that have come before the court.
And he doesn't recuse himself.
Yeah, so, you say this is maybe not unprecedented, that maybe other justices have taken these types of trips before and not disclosed it. I certainly don't doubt that. But I do think that Clarence Thomas has continually, brazenly violated what any reasonable expectation of avoiding conflicts of interest would be in his position as a Supreme Court justice.
Since it's a lifetime appointment, the only way to handle this would be impeachment, right? You can't, okay. So he should be kicked off the court. That's, point number one. Whether or not it'll actually get done is, slim to none chance. But look, man, I'll go further. This should be jail time. It really should be. Because one of the things that frustrates me about the way the system works is the corruption that's built into it
Yeah.
just becomes the duh position. Where everybody's like, what do you mean? This is just how it works.
Yep.
And it's like, no, that's the main problem with our politics.
The fact that it is the way it works is exactly the problem. That's
Right.
exactly the problem with our politics,
So-
that this is like seen as common and normal way of doing business.
So you talk to a politician or a judge and, you know, bring up the corruption, and it's like asking a fish about the water. They're just like, that's just business as usual.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we take legalized bribes, we do the bidding of industry, and then you wonder why. I mean, the point we always bring up, 600,000 homeless Americans, and it's like, there's nobody saying we need an immediate bailout for these people. There's
Right.
600,000 Americans who are struggling. 500,000 medical bankruptcies every single year. It's the number one cause of bankruptcy. Nobody says, we need to address this right away. But I guarantee you, this billionaire, he picks up the phone and makes a call, and he could get whatever decision he wants on whatever case he has in front of the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
And
it
that's
would be
the problem.
treated as an emergency. Whereas, I mean, to give you another perfect example, as of April 1st, there's an estimated 15 million people who are going to lose their health
Right.
insurance, going
I
to be
covered
kicked
that.
off of Medicaid. And this was done, you know, by Joe Biden and the Democrats and the Republicans. And there has been near media silence. I saw one article in the Washington Post about it, and that's about it. Now, do you think that's an emergency for the 15 million people
Right.
who are about to be cast out into the healthcare cold? Of course. Is it treated as not even emergency, like even as a cause for concern among the DC political class? No, not whatsoever, because they're not able to fund, you know, luxury trips for people in high places and allow them to stay at their private resorts and whatever. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think that this should be treated as harshly as it possibly can be. And the problem is that it never is, because almost everybody is implicated.
That's
so
right.
they don't want a harsh light turned on this type of corruption, which, by the way, the Supreme Court has gone a long way to saying basically like corruption doesn't even exist.
Right.
And Clarence Thomas is part of that as well. But yeah, they don't want to turn a harsh eye on corruption because so many of them are implicated as well.
Yeah, and then the final point is the veneer of fake respectability that the media puts over all of it.
Yeah.
And that all the show puts all over it. The honorable gentlemen of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Look at them wearing robes. Like,
right. Or
this
like
is all a show.
We're
This is all a
supposed
show.
to, you know, oh, we can't possibly like reform the institution because this is our legacy, whatever.
9 justices is all it's supposed to be.
Right.
Like,
Get
they
out of here
changed
with
the
your
number a bunch of times already.
Stop pretending like this court is anything other than like
Political,
a partisan political outfit. Like, let's just drop the veneer. So, you know, when I see the numbers in trust in institutions like the Supreme Court, when I see them going down, I see that as a sign actually of health among the American body politic, that they have their eyes open about what's going on.
Correct. They're not honorable gentlemen and gentlewomen. We got crooks. That's what we have. We have crooks who are masquerading as serious adult people who are blandly interpreting the plain-faced reading of the laws. Yeah, just calling balls and strikes. My ass cheeks, that's what you're doing. Get out of here.
Yeah, indeed.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.